Hello everyone, welcome to my guide for the MG42 in Battlefield 5. The MG42 is one of the two medium machine guns for the support kit, which were introduced as a new weapon class in Battlefield 5. It is unlocked at support kit level 20 and represents the final unlock for it. As such, you will need to play quite some time with the support kit before being able to equip this gun, but I thought you would all appreciate an in-depth guide on the weapon so you can jump right into using it once you finally unlocked it yourselves. Before we really get started though, a disclaimer. The medium machine guns in Battlefield 5, the MG34 and the MG42 are incredibly powerful weapons. They come with a huge downside however, as anything powerful should. This downside is the fact that you're unable to ADS, which means aim down sight, unless you have your bipod deployed. This will not only cause your entire playstyle to shift to a more defensive or slow one by necessity, but also cause quite some frustration, as the bipod system in Battlefield 5 is at the moment broken in many ways. You will experience the following issues with the bipod system in your time of using the MMGs. The bipod will refuse to deploy, making it unable for you to ADS in crucial situations. The bipod will deploy but break your ADS, so you need to re-ADS, which will cost you valuable seconds. The bipod will undeploy itself randomly due to you being pushed forward by an invisible force, thusly breaking your ADS. The bipod will undeploy itself with the slightest mouse movements to the left and right, despite being on the same plane, also breaking your ADS. The bipod will deploy inside of sandbags, rubble, or other theoretically easily bipodable locations, causing your barrel to stick inside of the meshes and blocking all your shots, while fully exposing yourself to the enemy. There likely are more instances of the bipod breaking than those, but these are the most common issues with it at the moment. If you are prone, no pun intended, to give into your frustrations, want the gun to work 100% of the time, or want a run and gun kind of playstyle, this weapon in the entire weapon group of MMGs is very likely not for you. That disclaimer aside, let's finally get into the guide. As previously stated, the MG42 is by far and away the most powerful gun in the entire game, which is also reflected by its stats. It comes in with a gigantic 981 rounds per minute fire rate, which puts it easily at number 1 among all the weapons in the game. The base ammo count of the MG42 is 50 rounds per belt, which is quite low for a base fire rate of 981 no matter how you look at it. Might seem very restricting at first, but do not fret, as there is a belt upgrade in the specialization tree just waiting for you to embrace it. Its control and accuracy stats are also among the best in the game, due to the requirement of having to deploy the bipod before being able to ADS to begin with. You should be able to easily control the recoil most of the time, regardless of tap, burst, or full auto fire. Of course, those are only the base stats. So let's take a look at the specialization tree. There are two types of MG42 setups you can specialize in. The first is a setup which will increase the rate of fire from 981 to a staggering 1200, but will not allow you to upgrade the ammo capacity. The second, conversely, is the one that will allow you to upgrade the ammo capacity from 50 to 250 per belt. The choice here, in my opinion, is clearly favored towards the second. With the base ammo count of 50 rounds per belt and the base fire rate of 981, you can expect to shoot for about 3 seconds before running out of ammo on the belt, prompting you to reload. With the first upgrade tree, you will have an expected full auto time of about 2.5 seconds, which just doesn't seem all that practical to me. Especially because the 981 baseline rate of fire is more than enough to basically one-shot everyone you come across to begin with. In conclusion, I personally prefer to go with the ammo upgrade, as I love to flank opponents and deny areas, most of them go for a quick kill or two during a rush. But of course, you're free to try out the two different options that I will be presenting for yourself to form your own opinions on the matter. For my setup, I like to take the recoil buffer in the first row, as the weapon has quite a huge amount of recoil despite the bipod. The increased bullet velocity is honestly not that great of a choice in my opinion, as the recoil does get quite uncontrollable during sustained fire. There might be an argument that can be made for the bullet velocity on very large maps, but I've personally never felt the need to increase the velocity to hit targets at long range, even on Hamada. Feel free to try it out yourselves though, and let me know what you think. The second and third rows, on the other hand, are where our previously mentioned two choices come in. On the left side, we have the first setup, which will increase the rate of fire to 1200, as well as lower your muzzle flash, which will lower your visibility while firing. If the muzzle really does anything when you're shooting 1200 bullets per minute, I'll just leave up to interpretation for now. On the right side, we have the second setup, which will increase your ammo capacity to 250 per belt, as well as reducing the amount of heat produced by 33%, which will allow you to shoot around 100 bullets before the gun needs to have its barrel replaced. This functions much like a conventional reload, just a little bit quicker. As these are mutually exclusive and you cannot mix match either of these, you need to nail down your gameplay choices here. The first setup is for those among you that favor a run and gun playstyle. The MGs aren't made for that particular style of play, but the 1200 fire rate will make it possible for you to play more aggressive, as you might be able to set up and fire enough rounds to kill your target even if you're spotted. This is a very risky style of play that leaves no room for error and honestly rewards very little in my opinion. That said, it is an option. The second setup is for those among you that, like me, favor the original intent behind the MMGs, area denial and potential flanking opportunities. With your 250 round belt, you'll be able to destroy entire teams without having to reload if you set up in the right position, even on operation-sized servers. Of course, this playstyle requires a lot of foresight, as you cannot simply run out into the open and expect your Sturmgewehr 1.5 to carry you. Yeah, I'm talking to you, random assault players that are watching this video right now. Following that, I take the increased ammo capacity, as well as the overheat reduction on row 2 and 3. For the last row, I normally go for the increased reload speed, as I'm a notorious reload maniac. Even if I've only ever fired 5 rounds out of my 250 round belt, I usually reload anyway, you know, just to be sure. The incendiary bullets, which will double the damage of your MG42 against airplanes, are also a potentially potent option, though right now, I wouldn't recommend it at all, as the bomber planes are bugged and do not take any damage. As such, I would recommend trying out the incendiary bullets on plane heavy maps, once a patch fixes the bomber planes, but until then, go with the reload speed, as it's just a very solid choice with no real downsides. The optics you can choose for the MG42 all work perfectly fine. Feel free to try out which ones you like the best and just stick with those. There's no real ones that are straight up terrible. Personally, I take the AA sight on all of my guns. I like the slight 1.25x magnification, and with the MG42's incendiary bullets, it kinda fits the theme. As for the playstyle of the MG42, it is most effective in close to medium range. Once set up, it works perfectly fine in any scenario, as long as you manage to set up in a moderately safe environment. You want to dig yourself into a spot that has a lot of cover from the sides, so that you can only get shot from the front. Recons are your worst enemy as an MG gunner, so make absolutely sure you can't be shot from the sides while you're trying to get your bipod to finally function properly and let you ADS. You can use this gun on any map in pretty much every circumstance, as long as you know what you're doing. To that degree, always have a plan in play to get from one position to the next. Think about the possible areas that you might fall under fire from and try to minimize the possibility of that happening. You don't have the luxury you normally have when you carry on your trusty LMG or assault rifle to just open fire on anyone running into your field of vision. Prioritize getting into a setup position over 1 or 2 kills that you can get in the open. If you chose your setup spot correctly, you'll gain way more kills than those. Choose your setup spots with the previously mentioned cover in mind. Always try to have at least one side covered by a wall and try to be unpredictable or undodgeable. As such, set up in areas where nobody would expect you to be, while still overlooking those critical junctions in the map. Right next to a wall, lying prone on the floor is often a better cover than you might expect. Don't be afraid to just hold down left click. With the 250 round mag and the machine gunner perk, you'll easily shoot through smoke, kill enemies that are quick peeking from behind cover, and snipe people from across the map due to the ease of applying the suppression status effect, and thusly, your 3D mark for aim. At long range, if accuracy is required, try to feather your trigger a little bit, to go with 5 to 15 round bursts. As accurate as the gun might be with the reduced recoil upgrade and the bipod deployed, you're still firing more than 950 rounds per minute on full auto. Once you start to become more familiar with the time required to get into ADS after full sprint, feel free to be a little bit more aggressive. The MG can absolutely be used on offensive pushes, if done correctly. Your rate of fire will allow you to beat anything in close to medium distance, as long as you don't take free damage. Sprint in, drop prone, and start spraying at the enemy while trying to get into your ADS if you're already under fire. Prioritize cover as much as possible, as you'll beat anyone trying to push you, even with 1 HP, as long as you're ADS'd and set up. Remember to pre-fire, you have enough ammo in the barrel to do that. Also remember that you can always semi-ADS with the gun while standing or running to tighten the hipfire spread. This will often come in handy, as your bipod will bug out or you'll need to clear a room full of enemies by yourself. Do not underestimate the power of your hipfire. It is a very potent weapon at close range. Especially due to your insanely high fire rate, you can easily kill multiple players if you've got no other option left to you. Don't make it a habit to rely on your hipfire though, as it is still very inaccurate. See it as a last resort or man mode if everything else fails. Overall, the MG42 is very likely going to be one of the staple weapons of Battlefield 5 going forward, due to its sheer power and how much fun it is to use. As such, if you happen to find yourself on the opposite side of the barrel of an MG42, try to flank the gunner and hope he hasn't watched this video, so he stays in one spot and leaves his flanks wide open. Alternatively, you can always throw a grenade to flush them out as well. If neither of these seem to work, try to pre-fire the spot while you round the corner. MG gunners can't really change the positions mid-fight. With those last few tips for playing against the MG42, I've concluded my guide. I hope it was informative and you learned something from it that you can apply to your own game. Please let me know if I missed anything or you would have wanted me to talk about anything in specific that I might not have covered. Also, let me know what your personal favorite loadouts are in the comments down below. Further, let me know if you'd like to see me cover a particular weapon in the support kit or other kits later down the line. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like or dislike button, and check me out over on twitch.tv/lunarwolf for some live gameplay. You can find a link to my stream down below in the description as well. And with that, thanks for watching, and keep dropping those ammo pouches.